1999, 2002, 2006, 2010, 2013, and in 2016. It all comes together in an all-new Pokemon adventure. Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon.
I figured it out. I figured it out. Everything makes sense. I need...
Pokemon Sun and Moon. Oh, what? No. Oh, who is that calling? Oh. Lockstin?
Toby, I figured it out!
Lockstin, what are you doing it so early?
Toby, there's no time to rest! I figured everything out!
Lockstin, I'm 8 hours ahead of you. It's the middle of the night. Wait, have you forgotten your meds again?
All of it.
Mate, what are you going on about?
Toby, I know everything there is to know about Pokemon. Pokemon Sun and Moon. It all comes together. Every Pokemon game, the anime, the movies, the card game, it all leads to this one moment. And now I have the ultimate Pokemon theory.
Go on then.
Toby! Sun and Moon are the last Pokemon games.
What?
Well, that is, I mean, of course, due to the sequelization and milking of basically every intellectual property, there were bound to be more Pokemon games later on, but I mean, the entire story arc of Pokemon as a whole comes to a close in Pokemon Sun and Moon, meaning after this, Pokemon may be fully rebooted.
Okay, Lockstin, you're gonna have to explain this to me.
Gladly. Get on Skype.
Okay.
So, Toby, this may all sound completely crazy at first, as I haven't slept in a few days, but just hear me out. There's been a huge Pokemon conspiracy from the get-go, but first of all, what do we know about Pokemon Sun and Moon?
It's based in the Alola region, which is based off Hawaii. The legendaries are the emissaries of the Sun and Moon. 2 of the starters look really good.
And there are many references to alchemy.
What? I mean, I've heard of Solgaleo.
Precisely! Solgaleo was the Pokemon emissary of the Sun, so everyone just assumed it would be Fire-type, and it ends up being Psychic Steel? What's up with that?
Well, as you explained in your video, Solgaleo is based off an ancient alchemic symbol, the lion eating the sun, which in alchemy represents the purification of metal, which often leads to the creation of steel.
Yes, and in Solgaleo's description it mentions some ancient civilization, and people in ancient times, particularly in ancient Europe, were practitioners of alchemy, and they believed that the sun was a large ball of molten iron, rather than fire. Meaning Solgaleo's typing has everything to do with alchemy.
Cool, so Solgaleo's type is very well thought out. What of it?
Well, can you think of any other Pokemon with as deep of meaning in its typing choice?
Well, no. So are you saying all this deep design is part of the overarching plot?
Precisely. But for now, just hold on to that bit of information. Tack it on to the virtual corkboard conspiracy theorist style. We'll link back to this and everything soon. And everything will connect. It all comes full circle. But next, let's talk about the Alola region. 4 main islands based on Hawaii. Do you know the names of these islands, Toby?
I know one of the names was shown in the Japanese trailer and it translated to Mili Mili Island.
Mili Mili is Hawaiian for yellow. There are 4 islands. This is Pokemon's 20th anniversary, and as part of its celebration, they re-released the original Generation 1 games onto the 3DS. How many Gen 1 games are there?
Oh, 4! Red, blue, green, and yellow. So are you saying the names of these islands will be references to the original Pokemon games? Well, again, that's really cool. Paying homage to their first games like that.
It all comes together.
What?
The Sun and Moon reveal trailer, it goes through the entire history of the Pokemon franchise before saying, "It all comes together in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon."
Yeah.
We'll just tag that onto the corkboard too, I'll be referencing that a lot. And now, you watched the Pokemon E3 presentation, right?
Of course.
I took notes.
Oh, of course you did.
And here are some interesting quotes. "These legendary Pokemon tie into the story in a unique way that legendaries haven't before." And "Alola is a region with immense life force." And next, it's time for a lesson in Hawaiian mythology.
Oh, okay.
So, in Hawaiian mythology, there are 4 great gods, though some sources claim that they are a trinity, because one of the dudes kinda sucks compared to the rest, but convoluted details aside, that doesn't really matter, and they are more commonly referred to as the 4 great ones. Anyway, they are Kane, Kanaloa, Ku, and Lono, and they are all gods of different things, but I'll go through some of the more important ones. Kanaloa is the god of destruction and death. Lono is the god of life, fertility, as well as rain, plants, and the earth. Ku is the god of war and the moon, and Kane is the god of creation, life, and the sun.
So Hawaii really was a perfect fit for this with all of its sun and moon mythology. But then again, many mythologies have deities based on the sun and moon, so it's nothing special.
Oh, but it is, because the other 2 have a lot to do with this also. And again, remember, 4 of them.
Okay, but explain to me.
So tag it onto the corkboard because we will get back to this. So a few more points really quickly. Pokemon X and Y had Zygarde in its programming, but doesn't give it any fancy backstory or introduction like the main legendaries usually do. Plus we only see its 50% form, and now in Sun and Moon we're suddenly getting all of its forms. Also, the plot and legendaries in X and Y are based on Norse mythology. The 4 stags in the middle with jewels in their antlers made of branches fits. The eagle on top peers into the souls of others, and the serpent below, Nidhogg, brings justice to the dead, among other things. Xerneas is the Pokemon of life, and Yveltal is the Pokemon of destruction, or death. Zygarde is also the guardian which maintains order in the ecosystem, and thus is seen as the Pokemon of the Earth, Earth's guardian.
Okay, so back to the Hawaiian gods. Life, death, moon, and sun. Yeah?
You got it. Anyway, in X and Y, there's this immortal character named Az, or AZ, and he's based off the French King Louis XIV, who is known as the Sun King. And might I also bring up now that Kane, the Hawaiian god of the sun, well, he was also the king of the gods. So Sun King, king of gods, and the sun, yeah, there's that point. The latest games we had were Pokemon X and Y, and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. We see in the Japanese title cards, the Japanese logos, there's the Mega Evolution symbol, and then the Primal Reversion symbol, and they are very prominently there. So, it's very likely that these weird diamonds we see in the Sun and Moon Japanese logos will be very important in Sun and Moon. But what could these be? Well, there are a few fan theories, and you did a video on this, didn't you? Care to summarize?
Well, it's likely to do with a new form of evolution, probably something to do with Astra Ninja or AZ's Floette. And in fact, we've seen these trainers that have deep bonds with their Pokemon, and some that even dress up like with them and share their strengths. We've had the Blaziken Hero, Elan from the X, Y, and Z anime, and even Harley from way back when. And actually, there's this one guy in the Pokemon episode Wake Up Snorlax, and he wears a green outfit, he's lazy, he's sleeping, he'll do anything for a bite of food, and he has to be woken up by the Pokeflow. I've talked about it before. It also happens that he owns many other Snorlax, and their personalities fit well together. And if you look at his necklace, it's very reminiscent of the diamonds from Sun and Moon. In fact, he even mentions the word moon.
This one wakes up about once a moon.
So there is already a bit of deepness here as well, and that's only one possibility. Another one is that it's some sort of magical revive, as it is the same shape as the life-saving revive item. But that's not too important right now, so for now, just put that on the corkboard also. Another thing to bring up is the sun dial in X and Y, specifically in Anistar City, whose gym is based on an observatory, by the way. The poster of the current season of the Pokemon anime has this sundial in its center, despite Ash having already left Anistar City in the whole previous season. Meaning the anime isn't finished with this yet.
Yeah, I did a video on that also, and actually there's an NPC in the city who says there's a moondial somewhere else in the world, and some NPCs even claim that the sundial might have been the result of an alien or a mythical Pokemon, which I would speculate to be Diancie because of the diamonds, or Hooper because of the gold ring. And actually the sundial is right up against the ocean, which means it would have easy access to Alola if the Alola's moondial was facing the other way. It should be worth noting that the famous observatory in Hawaii, which also is in the Alola region by the way, is a jointly owned observatory between Canada, France, and Hawaii, and France of course being where the Chaos region in X and Y is based. And actually it's weird that you can see islands off the pier of Anistar City, seeing as you shouldn't really be able to see this. Potentially this could be some kind of Anistar sundial and Alola moondial portal Hooper related thing, but that's yet to be seen.
Right. Also, everyone is expecting Perfect Zygarde to appear in X and Y, since it is the Z. X, Y, Z. Xerneas, Yveltal, Zygarde. It makes perfect sense. But now we know that these forms will appear in Sun and Moon instead. It reaches its perfect, more humanoid form. And we also know that Zygarde has some sort of important role in Sun and Moon. And remember, Zygarde is the guardian of the environment, the guardian of the Earth. And each of its later forms fit perfectly with Norse mythology again. The canine Fenrir, the serpent guarding the Tree of Life at its roots, and the giant goddess Hel, who rules over the underworld and forces order and justice upon it.
So Lockstin, where are you going with all of this?
Soon you will see, all in good time. For now, just plaster that on the corkboard.
Ugh.
Oh, don't you me. This next point will finally blow your mind.
Go.
So, what do we know about the next Pokemon movie?
Well, we know the bad guy is after Eternal Life, and the Volcanion is chasing after Megaena to keep it from revealing some mysterious secret of an ancient civilization known as Azoth.
There's that term again. Ancient civilization.
Loxin, I'm really not sure I can handle the mind-blowing right now. It's like 4 in the morning.
Azoth is a thing in alchemy.
What?
Oh, here, I'll send you a picture of it. This is Azoth.
Oh, a sun, a moon, a lion, and a bird thing. I mean, I guess Lunala is a flying thing. It's more of a bat than a bird, but...
So, Ku, the Hawaiian god of the moon, which Lunala is the emissary of, Ku is the only feathered god of the great gods.
What?
Oh, and it gets deeper. We could stretch this into it being a battle between Solgaleo and Lunala, despite this obviously being a bird and not a bat, but no, there is another way we could interpret this, and it fits even better. So Solgaleo is based on an alchemic symbol, and Lunala is based on a symbol in astrology. And by the way, in ancient times you couldn't study just one of these. If you studied astrology, then you also studied alchemy. They were heavily connected, which is why they share so many symbols. The moon in astrology is often associated with Cancer, the crab, but also at times a crescent moon with bat wings is its symbol. Which just fits perfectly, doesn't it? So no, this bird here isn't a stand-in for Lunala. This bird is actually another common symbol in alchemy. It's a phoenix.
Ho-Oh! Ho-Oh is the Phoenix Pokemon, and a few other Pokemon fans have brought up that some of the clouds look like Ho-Oh and Lugia, the legendaries from Gold and Silver, and these Pokemon will make sense being in Sun and Moon since Phoenixes are often symbolic of the sun, and Lugia is the Pokemon of the ocean current, or the tides, which the moon controls.
You pick up info fast. The symbol of Azoth has a lion fighting a phoenix. The phoenix in Greek mythology is also the emissary of the sun, so perhaps Solgaleo and Ho-Oh will fight at one point, since they both represent the sun in some form. Also, as you mentioned, Lugia being the ocean current and Lunala being the moon also goes hand in hand, as the moon controls the tides, which have a massive impact on ocean currents. And to once again quote the reveal trailer, it all comes together. Plus, by the way, in alchemy, the sun also represents gold, and the moon, silver. And the sun and moon also represent heart and soul.
Whoa, man! At this point there's just too many coincidences.
The phoenix is also a symbol of death and rebirth, as well as overall purification, bringing me back to my earlier point.
What point?
That this is the final Pokemon game. Or at least the final one before a reboot.
I still don't see that connection, Locke, but I suppose you're going to explain it now.
The Azoth in alchemy goes by many other names, such as the Universal Medicine, the Philosopher's Stone, the Elixir of Life, the Ultimate Life Force, Infinity. Whomever manages to master it will attain all of the knowledge in the universe, and attain perfection and immortality. The Azoth is analogous to the mind of God. It is the ultimate unifier of the entire multiverse. The Azoth is all. And what did the reveal trailer say?
It all comes together.
It gets deeper.
No.
And according to a highly regarded occultist named Aleister Crowley, it represents both the beginning and the end. As such, in its natural form, it has a very peculiar spelling. He specified that Azoth, when properly spelled, is spelled with a combination of symbols, including 2 Greek symbols, Alpha and Omega. It is also spelled specifically with the Latin alphabets Z. Latin, of course, being the foundation of our modern alphabet. X, Y, and Z. Zygarde is in Pokemon Sun and Moon, the Z Pokemon.
Okay, Lockstin, but what about the TH in Azoth? See, these pieces don't all fit together perfectly.
TH, or Tau as he puts it, is the final letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And also, TH is on the periodic table of the elements. It is the symbol for thorium, the element named after the Norse god Thor. There's Norse mythology again.
No!
Not to mention that the periodic table is the foundation of chemistry. And what is alchemy?
Alchemy is the medieval forerunner for chemistry.
Yes.
Is there any more?
Oh, loads. Plus, we aren't even done connecting the dots on all of the Azoth symbolism. Crowley also specified that Azoth is the end of all things. A unifier that brings in all things, a synthesis of opposites, an absolute cancellation of all. Another interesting fact is that in some languages, specifically Slavic ones, you know, Norse, as well as, of all things, French, Azoth is the name for nitrogen. But its etymology is different. As in, it comes from the Greek word azos, or however you say that, which directly translates into no life. So Aleister Crowley, the guy that came up with all the stuff about the Azoth, started an occultist and alchemic religion known as the Thelema. And part of what they teach is that there are a number of deities, but there is a trinity of all high ones. These 3 all high divines are Nuit, Hadit, and Ra-Hor-Kahut.
Those sound familiar.
Well, that's because they are based on Egyptian gods, and guess what they symbolize?
The sun, moon, and earth.
Exactly. Though not in Egyptian mythology, but in the Thelema, yes. I read their entire religious text to figure that out.
Oh, jeez.
It's actually not that long. But interestingly, not only are they the sun, moon, and earth, but also all of the stars, life and war. They are everything and nothing. Oh, and one of the end goals of the Thelema is to find or grow the tree of life in order to gain immortality. And again, this tree in the Alola region, which is under Ho-Oh, most definitely looks extremely large and important.
It all comes together.
You know. Speaking of coming together, have you noticed Zygarde's unique coloration in its 100% form? It has its usual black and green, but its special colors are these particular shades of red and blue, and 2 more shades of red and blue, and then a different shade of blue along with orange. X, Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun, and Moon. And what does Sun and Moon's reveal trailer say?
It all comes together. Like that white spot right in the middle. I'm a little scared. Lockstin, are you okay? There's more, isn't there?
There's so much, Toby. Are you aware of chimeras?
Greek mythological animals made of a lion, goat, snake, and sometimes a dragon?
Well, that is the chimera, but chimeras are a product of alchemy when you use alchemy to merge multiple animals together, sometimes even humans. Sometimes humans get mixed up in there. And well, the manticore is a specific type of chimera. It is a lion, a bat, and a scorpion.
The lion and the bat, that's Solgaleo and Lunala, and when they come together they form an eclipse. But what of the scorpion?
Well, I theorize that the scorpion will be the 3rd legendary here. I mean, it just fits perfectly, especially when you look at how scorpions fit into alchemy and astrology. Symbolically, that is. So, in astrology, which is hand in hand with alchemy, remember. Scorpio represents both sex and the inevitability of death. In other words, both death and fertility, new life, death and rebirth. And just take a guess what the eclipse symbolizes. When the sun and moon come together, it is called an alchemic marriage. Celestial sex. They become one. It symbolizes the perfect combination of all things, especially opposites. The masculine and the feminine, the sun and the moon, all of the elements, infinity, celestial sex. All of this, again, death and rebirth. The third legendary Pokemon would likely be a Scorpion Eclipse representation.
By Helix. So there will be some sort of eclipse in Sun and Moon then?
Oh, most certainly. In fact, eclipses are extremely important in both astrology and alchemy. In fact, when any number of planets align, it is extremely notable. And note that in ancient astrology, the sun and the moon both count as planets in this case. As planets align, the powers of alchemy increase. And when enough planets align, Earth can have its own spiritual energy reversed. Reborn, as it were. In fact, many astrologers and their followers had what they call a harmonic convergence in 1987, where the sun, earth, moon, and 6 planets all aligned, so they meditated in mass in hopes that it would rebirth the earth anew. So when all of these planets align, it represents a chance for the earth to be born again, yeah? Well, there's that reset symbolism again. And what did Team Flare in X and Y want? They wanted to wipe out all life on Earth. Essentially hitting Earth's reset button. And speaking of Team Flare, in alchemy, burning something is considered to be the best way to purify it. And plus, every single planet represents a fundamental element in alchemy, and so when they align, that particular element's power is exponentially increased. And plus, Game Freak recently filed a copyright on another new Pokemon, this time named Mars Shadow. Terrible, terrible name, but it represents Mars, so who's to say there won't be a new Pokemon for every alchemic planet? And so, the bad guys want to reset the world with the power of alchemy and astrology, right? How convenient it is then that Hawaii is famous for its space observatory. That is also very prominently placed on the big island in the Alola region. Of course they would want to make sure that all the planets were aligned properly before going through with their plan, just to make sure it works.
So, Loxton, I mean, this is all very incredible. It's amazing. But how do you know this means the end of the Pokemon franchise?
All in good time, Toby. Tack those points into the corkboard. So, the Japanese magazine CoroCoro, when revealing the new Pokemon Iwanko, specified that all 3 starters and Iwanko will all be connected in some sort of mysterious way, and very important to the plot of the game.
Yeah.
So, what if I told you that they are the keys to everything? Here. Take a look at this picture.
Earth, fire, water, and lead. Are these alchemic symbols?
Spot on.
Alright, I get that sulfur is fire, but then how is the grass-type Rowlet representative of earth or salt?
In alchemy, plants are considered part of the earth, so there's your grass-earth correlation, but also salt specifically corresponds to the representation of earth as a whole, specifically in alchemy, of course. Also, sulfur is fire, and mercury is both water and air. And of course, these are the 3 elements that are referred to as the heavenly substances of alchemy.
Heavenly. Sun and Moon.
These 3 specific elements, along with some powerful magic, is how an alchemist would manage to gain the power of the Azoth.
Ooh, chilling, but what of Iwanko then?
One of the main goals in alchemy, beyond eternal life and such, was the transmutation of lead into gold. Lead in alchemy is considered to be the absolute most basic metal, and is also related to death. and transformation, and as such is used in most alchemical processes.
Death. Alchemy has a lot to do with life and death, doesn't it?
Well, it's the combination of science and magic, essentially. Magic specifically relating to souls and the occult. In fact, the ultimate weapon in X and Y may very well have been an alchemic weapon. Because in alchemy, in order to bring anyone back from the dead, you need to use the souls of countless others, which is exactly what Az or AZ did in order to bring his Floette back to life. We know now that this weapon was part of a Project Azoth, and that name fits perfectly, as Azoth is the life energy that drives people to perfection. It's the life energy. It's infinity. And of course, this life energy in Pokemon is called Infinity Energy. Project Azoth. As stated by the bad teams in the Delta Epilogue in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, was to be used by them to reset the entire Pokemon world. Bring it back to the beginning. By using the ultimate weapon and a rocket full of infinity energy, they would destroy the Earth and give it new life. Oh, and the ultimate weapon, by the way, also created the Mega Stones that allow Pokemon to Mega Evolve. And remember, Azoth is the life energy that drives us all to attain spiritual and physical perfection. But it's also another thing.
What?
Azoth is also the energy used in any and all transmutation.
That explains Mega Evolution then, and in Infinity Energy, all of the Azoth is in Mega Stones and is transforming Pokemon beyond their normal limits, inching them towards perfection.
Excellent. You see my point. And now might I add another tangential point. The gym leader in Anistar City is Olympia, a psychic trainer. And just look at her. All those stars all over her. And as we mentioned, this gym is an observatory. And the city it's in has the sundial. Olympia here fits perfectly right next to Lunala. She even has this moon shape on her knee. Plus, Nuit, one of the three gods in the Thelema religion, is described as the Queen of Infinite Space, or Our Lady of the Stars, and even the Lady of the Starry Heaven. Now, don't these just all fit together so perfectly? Plus, Olympia is a French name with its roots in the Greek Olympus, the mountain on which many Greek gods reside. The Greeks were an ancient civilization that were practitioners and some of the founders of various rules in alchemy and astrology. Mount Olympus is a special place in astrology. Many astrologers in ancient times would climb it to be closer to the heavens. And then there's that sundial. The sundial was invented by the Egyptians or the Greeks, but either way, they both fit here perfectly. And another point, during the E3 presentation we learned that in Alola they have a festival to honor a deity named Tapu Koko. One of the presenters said that while she can't give us any details, we should pay attention to that name because it's very important. And so I did some digging and I've gotten a translation. And I've seen plenty of other fans who have translated it and came to the conclusion that it means sacred place or God's blood, and my personal favorite, spirit gorilla.
Spirit Gorilla. I love it.
When it comes to translation, there are often multiple things you could translate it to because these words are in multiple languages, and even within those languages they can have multiple meanings. But if you translate in the context of all of this, I now have the answer. Tapu is Polynesian, which is this area, so Hawaii is in there, and Koko is just Hawaiian. Tapu means spiritually forbidden, or taboo, when something is seen as wrong just because a god tells you it's wrong. This description fits alchemy perfectly, especially during its modern rise in the 1800s. Alchemy was frowned upon greatly because the Bible, among other religious texts, tell us that spiritism and the occult are terrible things. But what of Koko then? Its translation from Hawaiian to English is interesting. It means blood, but not our physical blood. Rather, it's referring to a sort of spiritual blood that runs through our spiritual umbilical cords that attach us to the spirits of our ancestors and the gods. So Tapu Koko is a spiritually forbidden connection to the gods. The alchemic goal of the Tree of Life and the Azoth. Oh, and transmutation circles, the magic circles drawn around every alchemic action, are of course extremely important to alchemy. And let's just take a look at this map of Luminos City from Pokemon X and Y. And now let's overlay a transmutation circle on top of it. They fit perfectly.
Loxton, please listen. I get it. Pokemon has gotten deep. It's gotten deeper than it's ever been. But I'm stressing out over here. I understand all of this theorizing is leading to you potentially spoiling the plot of Pokemon Sun and Moon. But I don't want any more of these tanglements. Fill in the holes that you've made, please. Just tell me now. What is Magearna's hidden secret, and how do you know this is going to be the end?
Very well.
Thank you.
So tell me, Toby, what is the Azoth again?
In Pokemon, it's the name of an ancient kingdom, and in alchemy, it's infinity energy, the life energy that drives us all to perfection.
So in Pokemon then, could you say that it's the power that's inside?
You did not just go there. I suppose you could.
So, in alchemy, gold is considered the highest metal. It is perfection. It is pure, the ultimate metal. And the alchemic symbol for gold is...
No, it's a bloody Pokeball!
What happens to Pokemon when they are inside of a Pokeball?
They get turned into energy and stored inside.
So could you say that they are transmuted into energy alchemically? Alchemy has all sorts of things that say you can capture the souls and energy from a person and move them from one place to another, and then reanimate said soul anywhere. However, the only way to do that is with pure alchemy, the power of a Pokeball. What is the secret that Volcanion is trying to stop Magearna from revealing? Magearna is theorized to be either a living Pokeball or the first Pokeball, or both. Others have even theorized that Magearna may even hold the Philosopher's Stone. Perhaps Magearna, who was created in the ancient city of Azoth, was the first attempt of humans trying to create a Pokeball, trying to capture the soul of a Pokemon and trap it in a device. But instead, in their experiments, they accidentally attached the soul to a device. And do you know the name of the scientist in Pokemon that did so?
Wasn't it Elephas? He's someone important, isn't he?
He literally wrote the book on modern alchemy in Azoth.
Oh, Arceus, stop being so right! Oh, I'm terrified.
Speaking of Arceus, being the god of Pokemon, it would make sense that it would fit into all this too, and well, it does. Perfectly even. But to understand and connect this point, I need to bring up another.
More tanglements?
Not quite. I'm sure you will love this one. So Game Freak's director of consumer marketing said last August that the next Pokemon game will have a lot to do with flowers.
Okay.
So here's a fun fact. Most of the characters in X and Y have names that share root words with many types of flowers. And in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, them being remakes, you can't exactly rename the characters to make them fit that. But the very few new characters that they did add, yeah, their names are also derived from flowers. More importantly though, these two characters from Sun and Moon, Hau and Lily, are also flower names. So remember, flowers. Now then, I'd like to read you this excerpt from The Secret Teachings of All Things by Manly P. Hall, a mystic author who delved heavily into astrology and alchemy as well as spiritism. And for context, at this particular moment he's talking about Azoth and its relation to Ein Sof, which is the Hebrew god before he manifested himself. In the Pokemon world, in this case, this would be Arceus, before creating said Pokemon world. The universe is surrounded by a sphere of light or stars. Beyond that sphere is Shamayim, the Hebrew word for heaven, who is the divine fiery water, the first outflow of the Word of God, the flaming river pouring from the presence of the eternal mind. Shamayim, who is this fiery androgyny, divides. His fire becomes solar fire, and his water becomes lunar water in our universe. Shamayim is the universal Mercury, or Azoth, the measureless spirit of life. Solar fire, lunar water. Two opposites split from Shamayim, which is the Hebrew word for sky, or heaven, or the sky of skies.
Shaymium certainly sounds a lot like the mythical Pokemon Shaymin, doesn't it? The Pokemon with a flower and a sky form.
And Shaman is androgynous.
Well, so are most mythical and legendary Pokemon, although Shaymin is right next to Arceus in the Pokedex. Whew, these connections are getting overwhelming.
Hey, it's a lot to take in. I understand. This rabbit hole goes deep. Would you care to go deeper?
No, I would love to go deeper.
Great! So, here's another point. Ever wonder why Zygarde is covered in hexagons? I mean, hexagons aren't exactly Earth-like.
I think the popular answer is that they represent cells.
That is the common answer, but cells can take any shape, most commonly circles and pentagons, not hexagons. Well, hexagons play a very important part in alchemy. Transmutation circles. They are drawn around every alchemic action in order for said action to take place. The hexagon is the shape that is capable of creation, changing something into something different, like iron into steel, or lead into gold, or air into water. It's perfect for maintaining a balance of elements, order in the universe, and for constructing things and changing their construction further into different forms. Zygarde does have a lot of forms that he keeps transforming into. Plus, Zygarde's 50% form looks kind of like Vishnu.
What? No, don't you bring in another religion?
Vishnu is the Hindu protector of our world. The guardian, you could say. Vishnu also has tons of forms, significantly more forms than most Hindu gods. And Vishnu also preserves cosmic order.
Ugh.
And you know what? While the X and Y legendaries do fit into Norse mythology, they also fit well into Hinduism. The Hindu Trinity, their all-high gods, are Brahma, the creator and god of life, Vishnu, the preserver and maintainer of balance, and Shiva, the destroyer, who brings death. Already you can see the similarities in their roles. In fact, their roles here match up perfectly, whereas their roles in Norse mythology are a bit of a stretch. So it could be that this legendary trio's physical forms were mainly inspired by the Norse Tree of Life, while their roles and actions were inspired by Hinduism. Plus, you know how X, Y, and Z are part of the 3D axis, and since this was the first 3D Pokemon game, and it was on the 3DS, it makes a ton of sense to name the game after this fact, right? X and Y? Well, yeah. Plus, their roles in Hinduism work out too, because in Hinduism, there are gods of directions, and these two just so happen to be two of them. Granted, it is just these two and not all three, and granted these directions are not the X, Y, and Z axes, but how many religions and mythologies have gods of directions?
So we were just wrong in assuming the Norse connection was it?
Yes. Hinduism is also deep into spirituality, and at its base is the belief in reincarnation, death and rebirth, as well as the belief that we all have gods inside of us, and thus through the use of chakra strengthening, the spirit energy inside of us, we can gain a strong connection to the gods and become enlightened. This is also called inner alchemy, by the way, and it achieves the same goal as traditional alchemy, a powerful connection to the gods that could grant you immortality and ultimate wisdom. But through inner alchemy and chakra, you are taking the natural route, whereas transmuting a Philosopher's Stone to take over the Azoth is the artificial route. And you know, this is also a theme in various Pokemon games. The natural versus the artificial. And bonus fact, yin-yang, while more heavily used in Buddhism and Taoism, originated from Hindu. And it often features this. The yin and yang are the sun and moon, as a serpentine dragon separates them, giving them order. Yin and yang, of course, being opposites. The alpha and the omega. Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye?
Oh, right, I forgot to mention. So the Ololo region, that's obviously a play on words of aloha, the Hawaiian word for hello. And goodbye, having the same word for both hello and goodbye. When opposites meet, Toby. When opposites meet. And now, my final point. A butler The Parfum Palace in X and Y mentions that there is an ancient tome that speaks of how to bring a Pokemon back to life. Tomes, of course, are large books, typically associated with magic, and, thus, alchemy. AZ likely used this tome to build his machine, and perhaps Elephas is using a similar tome when creating Magearna. Now remember, Magearna is essentially a living Pokeball. It is confirmed to have been created using life energy, or Azoth, of other Pokemon. And much like the ultimate weapon, it too can absorb a bit of life energy, as its ability, Soul Heart, raises its special attack when a nearby Pokemon faints. This may hint to this theory. When the Pokemon faints in battle, it does lose a little bit of its life energy, and Magearna absorbs it. Lily only has a few characteristics specified in her description. She is the professor's assistant, loves to read and has many books, and also hates Pokemon battles. Could it be that in her book reading, she has read this tome? And so she knows that a fainting Pokemon is losing a bit of its life energy. Well, if she's so concerned, then maybe she should just carry around a lot of revives. Revives. They replenish the life energy of a fainted Pokemon, don't they? And this jewel in the Sun and Moon logo?
It looks like some sort of magical revive. Wait, revive? The Pokemon fell and then it was reborn.
Aloha!
But for the last time, Lockstin, what does this have to do anything with Pokemon ending?
Just think about it, Toby. Think about it. What does Pokemon have left? They have basically every kind of legendary. Time, space, life, death, all the elements, every human emotion. God. What's left? And what's the number one complaint people have with Pokemon these days? There's way too many of them. Way too many. The 20th anniversary is this year. It's the perfect time for a final game. Plus Game Freak has been inching its way further and further from Nintendo as of late, making more and more games for non-Nintendo systems. Plus the basic gameplay of Pokemon hasn't changed in 20 years. Perhaps it's time. Maybe it's time for a reboot. And Nintendo has been overhauling a lot of their games as of late. Maybe it's time to hit the reset button on the franchise, just as all the bad teams want to do. 7 generations. To quote Alchemy and Mysticism, the Hermetic Museum, among many other books on alchemy. It is finished when 7 become 1.
What?
It's a common saying in alchemy. It is the end goal, after all. Physical and spiritual perfection. Sitting atop the tree of life, you have all the knowledge and power you could want, and with it, you are reborn. You have the power to live on immortal. And you have the power to destroy the tree of life and reset everything. It is finished when the 7 generations become one solid story, one era of Pokemon. It is finished when 1 encompasses all 7. Infinity, the All, the Eclipse, Black and White, Alpha and Omega, heart gold and soul silver, yin and yang. It all comes together in Pokemon Sun.
And Pokemon Moon.
Aloha!